welcome. My name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury makeup. Today we are taking a look at the new CLE De Peau foundation. This is the Radiant Fluid Foundation with the natural finish, or also known as the glow finish. So this one is not currently available in the US yet. It's been in the UK for a while. I actually ordered this from Harrods and it's 135 US dollars there. You get 35 milliliters, that's 1.1 fluid ounces. The funny thing is, it's actually made in the USA, so you would think maybe we would actually get it first here, but no, it's been out for quite a while in other countries. But it should be coming soon. The last thing I had heard was July for this. That was months ago, so I don't know if that's been updated or not, but hopefully it will be here in the US retailers very soon. So this foundation is the sister foundation to the Radiant Fluid Matte that came out last year. And it has SPF 25 PA++, so that's going to be up here on the box. And in this case, you know, this is supposed to be like a 24-hour long wearing foundation. I did not test it that long, but I have to say it is definitely a long wearing foundation. I have a wear test to show you with that, and I think it performs really well. So from the box, it says, define your most radiant, most colorful life. A liquid foundation inspired by the radiance of a diamond imbues skin with a healthy glow and a beautifully natural finish. A hybrid of makeup and skincare, exclusive light empowering enhancer amplifies your radiant finish. It's formulated with the Skin Empowering Illuminator, which is their exclusive skincare ingredient. And, you know, as always, even though it has SPF, you should still wear an additional sunscreen. So that's the information from the box. You do have a 2-year shelf life. Let's start off with the actual packaging. The packaging is going to be just like that of the Radiant Fluid Matte. The only difference is we have a clear glass bottle with the new natural finish, and there's a frosted glass bottle with the other finish. Now, I did buy mine from Harrods. The matte one that I bought here in the US does have a different tag and sticker here. I don't know whether the new one will have that, but I would assume that it'll be slightly different because I have French on mine. So I think it's French. So just something to note there. But other than that, you can see that these are going to be identical products. I have shade I-10 in both, which is the ivory shade, and we do have a pump dispenser here. Actually, I'll just put a little bit here to show you this. And then you can see, let me put a little bit more. So you can see that it is going to be a thin serum texture, and let me just rub that in a little bit so it doesn't spill. I'm going to put the Radiant Fluid Matte here on this part. Okay, so you can see that texturally they're going to be pretty similar, but the glow is going to be a little bit more serum-like than the matte. So we'll give these a couple minutes for oxidation to finish occurring, but we have the natural versus the matte finish. While we're letting these swatches dry on my hand, I'm going to show you the Get Ready With Me featuring this look here, which uses the foundation powdered. So that's going to be the main point of this. And then after that, I'm going to show you the wear test. So we'll get into the wear test as well. And with the wear test, I did not powder it. I used all cream products and kept the other makeup very minimal so that you can truly see how the foundation wears. And I wore it with a mask in the morning. I also wore it outside in the heat and humidity for several hours that day. So you can kind of see, you know, how well it performs. So let me go ahead and share those with you now, and then we'll come back and we'll do some comparisons and talk about my thoughts on this item. Okay, so I'm starting with the Surratt Perfectioniste Primer. So this is one pump. I'm going to spread this out. And I start this always like kind of in the T-zone area. This primer is great for mattifying any effects of sunscreen. It's not like a dry matte or anything. It just kind of gets rid of that tackiness and just makes your skin feel very, very clean. Then I'm taking eye primer. This is the Viseart eye primer. So I just have a little bit here. And while the face primer sets, I just put this on. Then I'm taking the Radiant Natural Foundation. This is just under one pump, and this is shade I-10. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of this on. And this is a Kyoto F04 brush. I'm just gonna use really light layers. You can see that this is a true medium coverage foundation. All right, and so that's it for today. I have this much left on my hand, and this would be kind of like a light coverage. And if you wanted to, you could go in, add a couple more of these thin layers and build this up to even more coverage, but this is sufficient for me today. So this foundation does not need to be set, but because during the wear test we did not set it, I'm going to show you what it looks like set with powder today. This is the Sisley Phyto Poudre Compact in shade number 1, Rosy. So I just have some powder on this. This is the Omnia Gold BOM 36 brush. So I'm just going to lightly dust this on. Okay, so you can see that that took the radiance down a notch, but it still has this like natural glow to it, this natural radiance, and yet it doesn't look powdery or anything either. Okay, and I wiped off the brush, and I'm going to use the same brush to go into the Sisley L'Orchidée blush. This is number 1. So these are like highlighter blushes, and the number 1 shade, if you look at it online, it looks really like light. And when you, oh, you can see that overspray there. When you put it on, or when you look at it in person, you can see how much deeper this is. I mean, it's a much darker shade. So it has a little bit, I think that's, well, yeah. So this is an overspray, this like marbled part, but you can see that you do have the blend of shades here. This is kind of like a corally shade in here, along with this more like warm bronzy shade. So for me, somebody who doesn't like to wear bronzer a lot, I like the bronzers with the more pinkish reddish tone because they look a bit more natural on me since I get pink in the sun. This is a shade that works well for that as well. So, you know, I wouldn't say it works as a bronzer, but it gives you more of that bronzed cheek look, if that makes sense. So this is what it looks like. Okay, for eyes today, I'm just going to go into the Suku 02. This is one of the permanent quads. I'm going into this shade here, and I'm using the crease brush from the Gold Collection from Omnia. This is the BOM 45. Okay, I wiped off the brush. I'm going to go into the shade below that, and I'm just putting a little bit on the tip and just kind of patting this in, just on the outer corner here. Okay, wiped off the brush. I'm just gonna kind of blend in that crease a little bit. And then I'm gonna go back into the first shade that I used, and this time I'm using this brush from Omnia, which is more of a flat shader one. This is BOM 43, and I'm just gonna lightly put this on the lid, and I'm gonna go over the outer corner as well. So I have a little depth from the shade before it, but again, it's not gonna look quite that warm. And then I'm gonna take my finger and the topper, and I'm going to spread this on the lid, just kind of tap that on. And for the lower lash line, I'm going to go into this shade here, and I'm using the BOM 48, the smudger brush. Okay, and I wipe that off. I'm just going to get a little bit of the topper shade and put that in the inner corner here. Taking the Chantecaille Luster Glide eyeliner in Earth. This is just a plain brown. And then I'm taking the smudger brush again and just kind of softening that a little bit. Applying the Sisley So Stretch Mascara in dark brown. So this is what the foundation looks like from a distance set with powder. You can see you still have that natural glow look to it, but it's diffused a little bit. It's kind of like there's a soft focus filter over top of that. And if you leave it without powder, it's definitely a little bit more of a dewy look. So I added the Guerlain Kiss Kiss Shine Bloom in number 119 Floral Bloom. And other than that, that's everything else that's on my face. And I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so we are going to be doing an all-day wear test of the new Clé de Peau Radiant Foundation. This is the natural or glow formula. And I have a ton of sunscreen on, so I'm going to start off with the Surratt Perfectioniste Primer. Then I'll bring you in closer and we'll apply the foundation. Okay, so I applied 1 pump of the Surratt Primer. And you can see I still have some radiance from the sunscreen, but it doesn't have any of that tacky, sticky feel anymore. And it's not a silicone primer, so it feels like nice skin. So that's one of the reasons I love that primer. Now, this is the Clé de Peau foundation. I have shade I-10. And for the wear test today, you know, it's in the low 90s here. So I am going to be outside for part of the day and see how this goes. This is the Chikuhodo PF4 brush that I'm using right now. You can see I'm just dabbing a little bit on at a time. And a lot of people kind of work out, which is what I do, but mine's primarily like I focus more on my cheeks because of the redness. I don't always like to use like a color corrector. Actually, I very rarely use a color corrector. So this is a light layer. There's just nothing. All right, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more right where I have this little scab. It was a blemish that I picked on it. And so I have a little scab left there. All right, so I still have this much left from my 1 pump. So you can see I didn't put on a ton. And this is what the foundation coverage looks like. You can see the glow and radiance from it, but it's not really pearly looking, which is nice in my opinion. So here's the foundation from a distance, and I'm gonna add light makeup. I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so this is my final look for today. On the cheeks, the only thing I added is a little bit of the new Chanel Teint de Soleil in the deep bronze. So I just have a little bit of that like right here. And I didn't add any powder or anything. We're gonna see exactly how this wears. And then I have more of the Chanel Les Beiges collection on. I have the Intense palette and the Rouge Cocoa Flash in Dawn. And that's it. All right, so it has been about between 4 and 4.5 hours since I applied everything. And I have been outside the entire time. It's 91 degrees out. I've been primarily in the shade, but I did get, you know, a little hot and sweaty. So I wanted to show you how it has held up in the heat and humidity. And this is what it looks like from a distance. Let me bring you in closer. All right, so this is how it has held up. You can see there's a little gathering in like lines around my lips, but overall it's held up well. It's definitely still on my skin. You know, it hasn't like rubbed off or anything like that. You can see everything is holding up pretty well. So I will be back later to show you another update. Okay, so it's been 10 hours since I applied everything. I'm outside. It is just after 7 p.m. here, and you can see how everything has held up. You can see I'm a little sweaty right now. It's really hot. Ignore the screaming that they're playing. And yeah, this is how it's held up. So I'll show you another update later inside so you can see how it has gone. It has been 12 and a half hours since I applied everything. This is what it looks like. And you can see my eyeshadows, you know, haven't held up with all of the heat and humidity today, but I can actually still see the bronzer, which has held up really well. I think the foundation has held up really well also. I have been outside for about half the day, you know, it's been in the low 90s, very hot, bit humid. And yeah, I got a little sweaty. So let me bring you in closer so you can kind of see what that effect that has had on this foundation. All right, so this is how it has worn. You know, honestly, I have not had a ton of wear on my face. You know, I'm really impressed with how it has held up. And, you know, yeah, there's some gathering here. My little scab has completely shown through. But overall, I think for 12 and a half hours being outside that much, and I had a mask on for a little bit this morning, I think overall, really good. All right, so I hope those were helpful so you can really see how the foundation performs and applies. And I have tested the foundation in a couple of different application methods. I did not use a sponge because that's not the way I typically use it, but I did try different styles of foundation brushes. No issues with any of those. I did also put it on with my fingers. I personally just don't prefer the finger application. I feel like I just get a smoother finish with the brush. So that is my method of choice. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some comparison shade swatches here. So we're gonna start off with the Clé de Peau I-10 in the natural. And again, we've got the matte one here that's drying, so I'm not going to re-swatch that one. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at some other foundations. So this is the Koh Gen Do Moisture in 012. And let's put that one right here. So this is the Koh Gen Do Aqua in 012. Koh Gen Do Aqua in 002. Chanel Sublimage in BR12. The Givenchy Prisma Libra in 1N95. I apologize for the background noise. My neighbor is apparently regrading their whole yard. So they have a lot of construction going on there for the next couple of weeks. And then we have the Chanel Le Beige, and this one is also BR12 here. All right, so from the top, we have the Clé de Peau in I-10 with the natural finish, followed by the Koh Gen Do Moisture Foundation 012, Koh Gen Do Aqua in 012. You can see that there is going to be a slight color difference between the two of them. And then we have Koh Gen Do Aqua in 002, which is still going to be slightly deeper than the Moisture 012. And then we have Chanel Sublimage in BR12. This is the Sublimage L'Essence de Teint. And then we have the Givenchy Prisma Libra Skincare and Glow Foundation in 1N95. and the Chanel Le Beige Healthy Glow Foundation in BR12. Now over here, these are pretty much dry. We have the Clé de Peau in the natural finish in I-10 versus the matte finish in I-10. You can see that there is a slight color difference. The matte version is very, very slightly deeper, but keep in mind, part of that is going to be the fact that my matte bottle, I bought it a year ago. So I'm sure the product has oxidized a little bit in there, even though you have like this pump style that is not allowing, a lot of oxygen or anything into it. It's possible that some of the color difference might be related to the fact that it is an older bottle. So just something to note there, but I do think that the glow or the natural finish is slightly lighter regardless. And I actually noticed that right when I put it on as well. Now for me, I like both. Both of them work well for me. Now you can see just looking at these here, the actual difference in the finish. So, I mean, this matte foundation here, this is dry, okay? I mean, these are heavy layers of both, so you can really kind of see, but these are technically dry. You can see how shiny this is. So this one is still a little wet, the natural, okay? There's still a little bit there, but it's a very thick layer. And you can see here just how shiny and luminous that is, but it's not very pearly. So moving on to my thoughts on this product. When I first started trying this, by the way, I've been using this for, I think, just over 2 weeks now. So I've been testing it out for a while. It does have the, traditional Clé de Peau fragrance to it. It's not overwhelming though. Honestly, the scent does not bother me at all. And when I first put this on, it's like, it's okay. It's a nice foundation, but not that special. And the more I wore it, the more I liked it. So I went from liking it to loving this foundation. And part of the reason is when I started using it originally, I was having, some skin issues. My skin was like breaking out at the time. And we had actually descended on kind of a cold spell while I had initially been testing this. So I was back to wearing like sweatshirts. My skin kind of freaked out a little bit and I had a few like dry patches, so my skin wasn't in the best shape. And I did notice that the natural finish foundation, it did kind of cling to some dry patches and it just didn't look perfect. It didn't kind of meld with the skin as seamlessly as I had expected for a foundation of that price. Now I have to say that the matte finish, it does the same thing. If my skin is not in great shape, it definitely doesn't look its best. It doesn't really camouflage those imperfections so well when my skin is not well hydrated. So just something to note there. I think that's true for both foundations. So if you're familiar with the matte finish, I would say you'll probably, if you have any issues with that, you'll probably have the same issues with the natural finish. But I have to say that this natural finish is amazing for heat and humidity. So now that the weather has been really warm, we have very humid weather. It's not a dry heat, it's very humid. And, it actually works so well in that humidity. It really kind of sinks into the skin. You can see during the wear test, I was hot and sweaty that whole day. And I think the foundation looked beautiful. And I think that in general, this is going to be a great foundation to give you a little glow. Now, it is a medium coverage foundation and it's a true medium. It's not light to medium. It's definitely a medium coverage. So you can either put on less to get a lighter coverage. You can mix it with a moisturizer or one of those like brightening CC serums and things like that if you want something more sheer, which I know a lot of people like for the summer. But I think this is a great product. I think it's a great foundation. And if you are looking for something like a tinted, a tinted moisturizer or a tinted, skincare, skin tint essentially, then I think adding a little bit of this with something else is great. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a brightening serum because this has that glow all on its own. So, you know, just mix it with a little bit of moisturizer or even a primer, you know, it's a really beautiful finish. It holds up all day. You know, the wear test, I forget off the top of my head right now how long that was for, but I've actually worn this foundation for like 15 hours in a day with absolutely no issues. You know, it still looks the same. And I mean, the same as the end of the wear test that I showed you. It really doesn't change from that point. That's just kind of how it lasts. And I think it's a great foundation. So it is expensive. Is it worth that cost? You know, that is such a personal question. You know, I think it really depends on, you know, if you have a good color match and what value you place on higher end foundations and so forth. Do I believe that has skincare benefits and all of that? I'm sure it has ingredients to do that. Do I think you're going to see results from using a foundation? No, I don't. But I do think that sometimes those skincare benefits can help keep your skin in better shape. For example, if I'm wearing a foundation and I'm hot and sweaty during the summer, I can actually result in, you know, like skin breakouts and things like that. Sometimes foundations that have skin caring ingredients can kind of help prevent that a little bit for me, and my skin just behaves a little bit better. So I don't think I'll see actual results, you know, any improvement in my skin, but I do think that it can help prevent other issues from occurring. So I have to say that I really like this, and Clé de Peau actually has a very impressive color range. And I think for me, the most important thing about finding a foundation that I like is finding a good shade match. And then I look at the finish and how it performs. So those are the two things that I'm really looking for. So I do think that for people who struggle with finding a color match, this may be a foundation that really works well for you because they have such an extensive range. And olive tones in particular, I'm not olive, but olive tones in particular, I know it's really hard to formulate good foundation shades in there. And I think Clé de Peau does a very excellent job of doing that. So overall, I would have to say that I'm very happy that I picked up this foundation. It is kind of a go-to for me. So right now, my current favorite foundations, still loving the Koh Gen Do Moisture and Aqua foundations. I'm also using the Givenchy Prisma Libre all the time. That's lighter coverage. For me, I think my two main go-tos right now are actually going to be this Clé de Peau in natural when I want something a little bit more fuller coverage, and the Givenchy Prisma Libre for a lighter coverage. And that's kind of meeting all of my needs for this warmer weather seasons. And I'm very happy with it. So I would definitely say if you're interested in this, you know, and it comes out, you get a sample, test it out, and definitely test it more than once, especially if your skin is not in the best condition. Now, I have tried this with different primers. I have used it with the Victoria Beckham primer in the original shade. I've used it with the Surratt Perfectioniste primer, the Dior Forever Couture moisturizing primer, as well as the Suku sunscreen / primer. And it has performed well with all of them. I did not have any compatibility issues with any of them. If you want to intensify the glow, the Dior Forever Couture primer, the one that in this tube, this will intensify it a little bit. It adds a little bit more moisture. Your skin just looks a little bit dewier with it. This foundation already looks fresh and dewy on the skin, so this will just boost that a little bit. Whereas if you want something a little bit more natural and a little bit less dewy looking, something like the Surratt Perfectioniste primer, you know, it just makes your skin look perfected and, you know, not dry, but not dewy, if that makes sense. So not all the way matte, just like natural. You know? So I think in that case, it gives you a little bit less of that glow then. So overall, everything has performed very well. I am really impressed with this foundation. It's an expensive foundation, but for me, I really like this one, and it has a really good color match for me. So it's something that I would definitely purchase again. I would not hesitate to purchase this foundation. So that sums up my thoughts on this product. And again, we have these foundation comparisons here. Just going to run through these one more time now that they have dried a little bit more. But this is going to be the Clé de Peau in I-10 with the natural finish. This is Koh Gen Do Moisture in 012, Koh Gen Do Aqua in 012, Koh Gen Do Aqua in 002. Then we have the Chanel Sublimage in BR12. This is the Givenchy Prisma Libre in 1N95 and Chanel Les Beige Healthy Glow in BR12. Over here, we have the Clé de Peau in I-10 with natural versus the Radiant Fluid Matte. So you can see there's a slight color difference between those. This is going to be, the matte is a little bit deeper, a little bit warmer. And that's everything. So if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you very soon. So have a great day and stay safe and healthy.